In this video, I will provide you with 5 common mistakes do-it-yourselfers make when fixing sagging floor framing. And first on the list, you got to figure out what caused the problem in the first place. And even though I'm not going to be able to provide you with every single method to check these problems, I will be glad to create a video checklist if you need one. Just let us know in the comment area. So the first thing you might want to look for will be excessive soil erosion or soil settlement. And this will probably happen around the supporting piers. And you might be able to find that by just simply noticing excessive moisture in the soil. Next up on the list, and this is going to be another one that's going to be difficult to figure out, would be excessive moisture in the crawl space. And a sign of that might be wet lumber. The floor could also be sagging because of excessive weight, like for example, a waterbed, piano, or maybe a library filled with books that could be located in the middle of the unsupported floor. Another problem could be from termites or wood rot, undersized floor joist, incorrect installation methods by the floor framers, bad lumber, for example, you have lumber with a lot of knots in it, or it could be cracking and splitting. And last on the list, your floor sheathing might be too thin. Number 2, and next up on our list, will be undersized repair footings and beams. And I can't tell you how many times I see a 4x6 that's 16 foot long with a post and a support footing at each end, when in reality, something like this might require a 4x10 or a 4x12, or an additional footing or pier in the middle, or even 2 more instead of 1 spaced evenly in between the 2 outside posts. And of course I'm just going to go ahead and set my post on top of a couple of blocks or bricks. Might not work either, along with smaller footings. Now for a single story house, it's not uncommon to have a 12 by 12, 12 inches deep concrete footing, where the top of the concrete footing will be at least 6 inches above the soil. However, in your area, they might be able to be larger or smaller. I won't be able to provide you with the exact sizes. However, this right here usually isn't going to work, especially if it's not going to be sitting on well-compacted soil, which is another reason why you're probably going to dig a little bit deeper for your footing. Next up on the list, and this is another biggie, this is probably the biggest one that I come across when watching other videos or answering questions in the comment area, and that will be using undersized floor joists. If your joists are sagging already and you have a 2x6, then you might need a 2x8, and by attaching a new 2x6 to an old 2x6 that has already failed might not provide you with the best option. If you could remove that joist and install a 4x6 or 2 new 2x6s you're going to nail together, then you might have a good repair. But by nailing a new board to an old board that is already undersized might not provide you with the best option either. And of course, in a situation like this, I would install a beam in the center. I wouldn't even bother with sistering the joist. But I do understand that you will run into a situation where your only alternative will be to add an additional joist. And if that's the case, you might want to use a wider piece of lumber like a 3x6, a 4x6, or even a 6x6. Another mistake I see a little more often than I would like to would be when someone is dealing with joists that might be spaced 24 inches on center, 32 inches on center, or 4 foot on center. And to fix it, they want to sister a joist next to the existing one. And I'm not about to suggest that won't help, but you're going to be better off if you add another joist or 2 in the middle, or even use larger lumber. Here we have a 3x6 instead of a 2x6. And number 5 on our list, and something that some of us really don't think about until it's too late, and that will be to actually create a repair plan. And I hate to say it, but this is probably the absolute most important one on this list. And how do I know this? Again, because of the comments I get or the emails that are sent to me when someone is telling me that they can't actually get to the repair, Or worse than that, they can't actually get any lumber into the crawl space area or get long enough lumber into the crawl space area to make the repairs. So make sure that you actually have access to the crawl space through an access opening. And if you need to make it larger, you might have to make it larger. And if you need to remove some of the soil in the crawl space, you might have to do that also. I've seen building foundations like this where you barely have 10 or 12 inches in between the bottom of the joist and the top of the soil. And as you probably guessed it, I turned those jobs down because I couldn't even get under the house to access the damage. And you might even be able to cut an access hole in the floor sheathing or remove a large section of the floor sheathing to access the area a little more easily. And a few other things to consider when planning will be whether or not you're claustrophobic, can deal with rodents or other pests that might be living underneath the floor, whether there's going to be enough ventilation and air that you can breathe. Is it going to be a little too dusty or have too many particles in the air? You might need a mask. And are you going to be able to get electricity into that area if you're going to be using power tools? And of course, if you have any more suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment area for others to read. Or if you have any questions about the video, feel free to leave those in the comment area and I will answer them as soon as possible.